Hello and welcome back to the stand. Today's a very special video. I'm excited to be sitting down talking with you again. I know it's been a while since I've done that. Actually not at all since I've been here in Florida. But today is a special day because it's Dennis's birthday! Happy birthday! The birthday boy wants to share some of his food with you. That's a big deal because he loves his food. He'll probably be eating a lot in this video. But I wanted him to join me, one, because I'll be talking about him and he's so wonderful to look at. And two, because his big brother is napping. I don't really have much of a choice anyway. But I am pleasantly happy to have him here with me because I'm excited to talk about what this last year's been like and maybe a little bit about his birth story. Okay, so where do I start? A day before his due date, I woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning and started feeling cramping. Similar sensation as when I felt early on labor with Lee, but with Lee it started on a Monday and I didn't he wasn't born until Wednesday. So in my head I'm thinking, yes, I know the second happens quickly, but okay, maybe he'll be born tomorrow. So I just laid in bed. I don't think I fell back asleep because of course, how can you when you're having kind of intense cramping? But it did feel like kind of just consistent cramping and not so much that regularity of consistent contractions. Where it's like really intense and then you know it's kind of gonna stop for a moment and then it will come back in a few minutes. So I didn't say anything. Once then Joe and Lee woke up, we kind of just went about our morning, and then just before Joe left, I was like, I probably should tell him. So I said, I'm feeling some cramping. I don't know what that means. Could mean he's coming within the next day or so. And Joe was like, okay, keep me updated. So he went to work, just went about my morning with Lee. Got him breakfast, had him watching TV because it started to feel a little bit more intense and I was just kind of trying to get through what I was feeling. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I'm starting to feel this way. Don't want to make you nervous, but what do you think? I have an appointment tomorrow on his due date, as I was having those weekly appointments with my OB at that point. And I said, what do you think if I just called and see if they had an opening today, just to go to have my regular checkup, kind of kill two birds with one stone. I hate that saying, that sounds so terrible, but I was like, I'll get checked up and I'll just kind of get relief of saying like, yes, you're in very early labor, but nothing to worry about, continue as you are. So I called and I told them, I said, I have an appointment tomorrow, just want to see if you had any openings. I don't feel like it's an emergency, but I figured if you had an opening, that would be awesome. And they said, yep, we actually have a couple. We have one at 10 and noon. Which one works better for you? I almost said noon, but I was like, you know what? Let's just do the 10 o'clock. Somebody likes his food. Can you tell me more nice things? You want to share with them? Would you like some? Or they want to share with you? Can you say thank you? Aww. Yeah, you like those. Again, this was maybe like 8-ish, so I had a couple hours, and as I went about my morning, they started to feel a little bit more intense. So I did pack up my bag, which was pretty much packed, just like the last second things that you can't pack till the day of or something. And I put it in the car, all while he was watching TV, not telling him anything, and just said, you know what, Mom's gotta go to an appointment. He went to every single one of my OB appointments with me, so this was normal. And I do remember feeling like so intense with having to pick him up and down onto the car seat, but we did what we could. And it's also funny because there's a route I take to the OB is one I take quite a bit to go other places around town. And so there are certain points I always remember, still to this day as I'm driving, I'm like, oh, I remember having a really intense contraction there. Oh, I remember having one there. So it's really funny, but yeah, I'm just driving and I didn't actually use an app this time around. Last time I was seeing how long my contractions were, how frequent they were happening, but this time, again, because I was kind of telling myself, I'm not sure these are contractions yet, I wasn't thinking anything of it until when I was driving. All of a sudden I remember looking at the clock and seeing the time and then thinking, I am for certain it's gonna happen 4 minutes from now, or 3 or 5, I can't remember completely. And then it, like clockwork, every 5 minutes, because this was like 20-25 minutes away, I think, it would come on fiercely, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm driving, like, trying to like keep it together. And so we get there. I remember when I opened the door to get Lee, one came on, and I was just like holding against the door frame, and Lee's like, Mom, are you okay? What's wrong? And I'm like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And so we get there, we wait for our appointment. It took a little while. We get in, I explain the situation. They had never checked me before this, and they usually do at the 40-week mark. So they're like, yep, we'll go ahead and do that, especially because you're saying the symptoms and sensations you're having. So they go ahead and check me, and immediately she's like, okay, so what's your plan? Do you have anyone in town to watch your son? You know, where's your husband? And all these things. And I'm like, oh, and I said, yep, we have someone. My husband's at work. And she's like, okay, well, I would go ahead and give them a call. You really should get to the hospital now. And I'm like, oh, really? I was like, can I have all my stuff, but also, if you think there's time, would like to go back home, meet everyone there, make sure Lee gets kind of transitioned well. I didn't want to do all that at the hospital to kind of burden everyone else. So she's like, yep, but I definitely wouldn't dilly-dally. And I'm like, okay. So drove home. Lee went with his mother-in-law, with my mother-in-law, his meme, and Joe met me back at home. Thankfully, he doesn't live far from work. I remember taking a picture one last time of us all together, and then we went to the hospital. I think it was like 11:30, 11:45. I was fully checked in and in my hospital bed. She asked me if I wanted an epidural, the doctor, which was so great. The OB, so I was at one of those offices where there was like 10 OBs and you saw someone different every time. But this woman was like the one I was like, I would love to have her. And when I saw she was on duty, I was like, I was like so excited. So my doctor asked if I wanted an epidural, and this was something I had thought about. So my plan with Lee was that I was going to opt not to have pain medication, but of course was open to if that was what was going to be in both his and my best interest, specifically his. And I did end up going without pain medication for him. And it was interesting when I had seen birth videos since then, you know, kind of the YouTube ones, not like the really intense medical ones where you're seeing everything. I had seen a lot of people get the epidural and just see how chill they were and just happy they were through the entire labor. Whereas what I remember with my labor with Lee was that I had my eyes closed the entire time. It was super painful, really uncomfortable, and it wasn't comfortable or enjoyable whatsoever until the moment he was born. Well, after, not the moment, because that's intense too. So I remember telling Joe, I said, you know, I definitely am more open to doing the epidural this time around because, you know, I want to be maybe a little bit more present. I felt like I just was like so in the zone and not focused on him or anyone else. Not that I had to be, but you know, I don't know. So I remember being like, okay, let me, maybe. And she's like, okay, well, you know, think about it. You don't have a lot of time, but you definitely want to think about it. One thing I will also mention is that my water did not break at this point. They did check me and I had progressed a few more centimeters. I think I forgot to mention I was 6 centimeters, I believe, at the OB. And at this point, by the time I got to the hospital, which was only like a half hour later or 45 minutes later, I had progressed to 8 or so. Can't remember entirely. He says, I have a feeling as soon as we break your water that things will progress very quickly, so, you know, we kind of have to make a decision. I think my thought had been, if it was going to be as long of a labor as Lee's, that I did want to do the epidural. But if it was going to be very quick, or at least not 30 hours, then I was open to just doing it without pain medication. Because I had done it before, and I knew I could get through it, and I felt really great after. So I knew that, you know, the after effects of not having pain medication worked really well in my favor and all of that. So I ended up saying, okay, no, I don't think we will. And so she was like, okay. So she broke my water and I had him at 12. Oh my God. What time of day did I have that? 12:54 p.m. Yeah, so I think it might have been I got there just, or I was in the hospital bed just, all I know is from when I was sitting in the hospital bed to when he was born, it was less than an hour. So she broke my water, and then within minutes, I'm pretty sure he was born. I pushed only twice, whereas with Lee, I pushed for almost 3 hours. So it was a very different experience. I remember also coming into the second labor, and one of the only things I knew, you know, I'm adamant that this is something I'm gonna advocate for myself, is that with Lee, I felt like they told me to start pushing way too soon. They always said in our classes and the things that I learned that you should wait until you kind of feel the need to push, or you feel him low. And I wasn't on pain medication, so I could feel everything. And I remember saying, like, I don't feel the need to push. I don't feel him down low at all. But they had me push, and I felt like that really tired me out very quickly, and also caused a lot of stress for him having that long of pushing. So remember this time I said, you know, I'm gonna advocate for myself. I'm gonna tell them, no, I would like to wait until I feel a little bit more, or anything like that. Well, Dennis didn't even give me the chance. I tell Joe, it honestly feels like when, like I imagine Lee and Dennis in a swimming pool, and Lee was just like floating, just like enjoying life, no rush to go anywhere, whereas Dennis was like Michael Phelps, making the flip over the making the flip to go the other way, and just pushing off with his feet, because all of a sudden I was just like, I have to push. She was like, okay. And so I pushed once, and I just felt crazy sensation that I'm like, he is coming. And she even said after I did the first push, she goes, okay, calm down. If you push like you just did, he's gonna fly across the room. And I'm like, I never push. And so we pushed one more time, and he was out, and he was here. So it was just me and Joe in the labor room this time around, and he was there with us. I put him on my chest. I got to keep him there with me. He was happy and healthy. The one thing I will say is, I think Lee had like such a larger forehead and just soft features when he was born in some ways, that when Dennis was born, I like thought he looked like, I don't know, just his like face. It was like, I don't know, also from the from coming out so quickly, I'm not sure, but his face seemed so scrunched, and I was like, oh my god, he looks like a little like Al Capone, or like a little Italian mafia guy. I don't know why I thought that, but I was like, I can't. I told Joe, I was like, I almost don't see him as a dentist. His hair was much darker, and all his features were just, you know, so much different than now. He looks so different than he did as a newborn, whereas Lee, I can kind of see a little bit. So it's just really funny to me. But I was like, oh my gosh, do you think he's a dentist? I don't know. And Joe was like set, like, no, I've imagined him a dentist this whole time, so he's a dentist. And I'm like, okay, he's a dentist. But yeah, he was there with us, and we got to have him in our room with us the whole time. He did have a little bit, he was on the edge of jaundice. He ended up not needing any light therapy, but he was very close. They did keep checking him for that. Like most newborns, was pretty sleepy while in the hospital, although having not experienced it with Lee, I did notice it was just so crazy that the timing was always so off. It was like they would check me, and then they'd come back like a half hour to check Dennis, instead of like doing both at the same time, which I would prefer. But of course, I'm sure they can't do that. There must be a reason they do it this way, because if they did it at the same time, then that would allow more time for both of us to get sleep. But it felt like either one of us was being checked when the other wasn't, so there was almost no downtime. I had told my parents after I left the OB appointment that, you know, definitely things are happening today. So my mom was at work, so they had to meet up and drive up. And she lives in, they live in the Boston area, so she works in Boston. And so she was just short of being able to be there for the delivery, because she's like, wow, that was quick. And I'm like, I know, I wasn't expecting that, sorry. And but it was so nice that they were able to be there after Dennis was born, that Lee was able to come visit on his birthday at the hospital that evening, and my in-laws were able to come as well. So that was very nice. Again, this was pre-COVID, and I continuously think of those that aren't able to have people visit if that's something that they really want in their experience. What can I tell you about Dennis, I guess, just overall who he is? So as many of you have noticed, he is a very smiley baby. Loves to make other people smile, loves making eye contact, loves waving, loves to socialize. And just is kind of overall goofy. He's pretty laid back. There are points where, you know, in the car or in the stroller, he is so quiet. Sometimes you can kind of forget he's there. I never have, of course. But other times it can be like a little pterodactyl, like we say, or dinosaur, and just kind of loves to be vocal. He loves his big brother. It's probably, I think, his first word, if not mama and dada. It was brabra. And he just lights up whenever Lee is in the room, loves to play with him, loves to pull on Lee's hair, and just loves to do whatever his brother's doing. Do you love brabra? Yeah, he's in there probably sleeping. Yeah. That's Dennis. I definitely felt more confident as a mom this time around, and also both in my knowledge, but also I felt more emotionally strong. Probably another story for another time, but did not feel emotionally strong for Lee, and that really affected me and my experience as a new mom. But this time around I kind of knew how certain people would react and prepared myself for that, knew the kind of support I had, and everything just didn't seem as much of a surprise and shock as kind of everything did with Lee. And I remember being just a little bit more guarded in regards to what I shared about Dennis with others, just to protect myself emotionally and our family. You know, just tried not to get bogged down as much about, you know, how other people felt I was doing as a parent, or how I was doing in, I guess, making sure they were okay. I'm not really sure. It's a long story, but if you can imagine, Dennis to me feels even more like a wiggly worm than Lee. He constantly wants to kind of just be going everywhere. He was a little bit of a later walker than Lee. Lee was like running by 9 months, whereas Dennis kind of took his first steps just a month or so ago, and is still pretty wobbly, not quite fully confident where like he could just walk down, like, let's say Main Street or something. He really is still only doing a dozen or so steps comfortably, where he then feels like he needs to hold on to something. But that's all right with me. But I do have this feeling that as soon as he does master walking fully, that he is gonna be that kid that just like books it, and I'm gonna always have to be running after him and keeping a really close eye on him, of course, like you would, but he's gonna always find every little opportunity when mom blinks to run away. But we'll see. An interesting thing about Dennis is that he is not a TV watcher. I wanna say around 10 and a half, 11 months, I started showing Lee a little bit of Sesame Street, just an episode a day or episode every other day or so. And Dennis just like couldn't care less about TV at all. I've tried to get him to kind of just sit down and watch an episode so I can either focus on Lee or do something, and he just wants to be wherever we are and doing what we're doing. Yes,
Huh?
that's my magic band. I want to say Lee at this point was fully sleeping through the night, whereas Dennis is not. Dennis does wake up probably more often only once a night, but still sometimes twice a night. So would like for that to hopefully change soon, because I am tired. But it's also very nice because I am still nursing him fully, exclusively. I've never given him a bottle. It is nice with a toddler around that we have that quiet time in the middle of the night to nurse, and I still do enjoy that. with him, that experience. So, you know, we'll just keep doing it until either he's no longer interested or I die from exhaustion. I'm dead tired. Dead tired. I'm dead tired. So really, he's just the perfect addition to our family. We can't imagine life without him. Can't believe it's been a year. I'm excited to see, you know, just who he chooses to be and how he will continue to light up our lives and bring so much joy to all of us, and how his relationship with Lee will grow. I'm really excited about that. I look forward to post-COVID when he can get to know other babies, because of course we have been going to a mom's group that I have not been able to attend with Lee and always really desperately had wanted to do. But was able to do with Dennis and was really looking forward to doing that for his full year, but wasn't able to. And of course, worse things could happen. We're just happy that he is happy and healthy and that we are happy and healthy. But I wasn't able to do library events or story time. So really looking forward to doing that once the time comes that's allowed. Thank you, Dennis. And yeah, just really excited to celebrate his 1 year today. Not today, I'm a couple days ahead, but we'll be celebrating it when you see this video. But yes, it's been a wonderful year, a year that none of us could expect it to have been this way. And as I've seen articles before, you know, although he was born just a few months before COVID, you know, he still is in some ways considered a COVID baby because he was a baby through this time. And, you know, I've seen a lot say that, you know, we never expected that your life would start out this way, but that you have been the light this year through all the darkness. And I certainly would say that about Dennis. He has been just a pure miracle to us. He has, brought back, he has helped me become just a more confident person after a few years of just feeling really deflated and just being disappointed in a lot of like circumstances and relationships that changed around Lee's early years. And so I do feel myself coming back more as the person I am, as the mother that I always wanted to be. Thank you. That's I think they said some kind of Hulk. Yeah, I don't know if it says. It's some kind of Hulk. Watch this, Dennis. I'm just very grateful for this last year and for the joy he has brought our family and the purpose he has given us, and just setting us back on a better track. I love you. And who knows, never say never, but as of right now, I do think that he will always be our baby. And you know, that's been a wonderful journey, and knowing that our family is most likely complete. And it's also been difficult sometimes because as each milestone happens and just phase of this stage in our life happens, you know, knowing it could be the last time is beautiful, but also very sad in many ways. You know, I definitely think that however many babies you do have, it's always going to be difficult and you're always going to feel like you want more. But, you know, when you sit down and try to figure out what's best for your family, and, you know, you just have to come to terms that this is just how life goes, and it is the beauty of parenthood and the pain, and that it is just, it fills your heart so much, but also breaks it at the same time, because you just don't want time to go by so fast. And you know, you just want this to go on forever. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I know there were a lot of details possibly left out and things here and there that, you know, there's only so much time in the day that we have to discuss. But I wanted to give you just an overall gist of how this year has been, how wonderful our beautiful son is, and just how excited we are to be celebrating his 1-year birthday. Try to think of a question for all of you. Okay, so my question for all of you is, as Dennis picks up something on my shirt. Oh yeah, what happened, Dennis? Oh my gosh. Dennis, you got a snack stuck to me. I should have known it was food. I'm like, what is Dennis so interested in? So my question for all of you is, when is your birthday? Don't need to know the full month, date, and year, but even the month. Be happy to share, see if any of us share somewhat close to the same date or month. And how do you like to celebrate it? We are keeping it pretty low-key here because we are not at our home. We don't have a lot with us. Dennis does have a food allergy where we do have to do cake with no egg. I think we might have plans to go to a park. I'm not entirely sure, but just kind of keep things low-key. Just enjoy that we are here celebrating his birthday in Florida. I'm just really excited to have a birthday celebration with just me, my husband, and my 2 kids, where we're just focused on him and not worried about kind of anything else. You want this one too? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go now. And yes, happy birthday, Dennis, and thank you for joining us. All right, I think I'm gonna have to go before it rips out all my hair. Bye. always sing to you? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dennis Cole. Happy birthday to you. I love you, Dennis. You say bye-bye? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Happy birthday.